I am Mia Willis, 27 years old, and I grew up in a Mediterranean-style mansion on Star Island in Miami Beach, where Biscayne Bay sparkled like the diamonds my family traded and security cameras tracked every movement. To outsiders, my family represented American jewelry dynasty success. My father, Richard Willis, owned Willis and Sons Fine Jewelry, with flagship stores from Bal Harbour to Worth Avenue. My mother, Patricia, managed the books with manicured nails that never touched anything worth less than 5 carats. But behind those coral stone walls and hurricane-proof windows, our home felt more like a vault than a sanctuary. I used to sit by the infinity pool, counting boats in the marina and dreaming of sailing away. Even as a child, I knew I was just another asset in their portfolio. My family weren't just cold. They were calculating, and every interaction had a transaction buried beneath it. I still remember my sweet 16 vividly, standing in a Marchesa gown while my parents networked the party they'd thrown, only to find a note from my older brother James tucked in my gift pile. "Happy birthday, princess. Try not to embarrass the family name. G." The diamond earrings they gave me felt like handcuffs. They never asked about my dreams. They only talked about legacy. Learn the 4 C's, understand client psychology, marry someone who could expand the business. The rest of their time went to auctions, gem shows, or galas at the Perez Art Museum where deals were made between champagne toasts. I can't recall my father ever asking my opinion or my mother seeing me as anything but a future transaction. They had their script: Willis women marry well, or your grandfather would roll over in his grave. Over time, I learned to hide my ambitions and stop expecting them to see me as more than branded inventory. The only person who truly saw me was my best friend Elena Volkov, whose family had fled Russia with nothing but talent. Her parents ran a small alteration shop in Wynwood, and Elena had magic hands that could transform fabric into dreams. We met at a fashion show where I was forced to model Willis jewelry, and she was backstage fixing a supermodel's torn dress with invisible stitches. She noticed how I photographed every design detail, how I sketched improvements in margins, how I understood fashion beyond just accessorizing. "You have the eye," she said simply. "Why waste it on rocks when you could dress bodies?" Everything crystallized when I was 22, fresh from FIT in New York with a fashion merchandising degree my parents had grudgingly allowed, thinking I'd use it to modernize their jewelry displays. But I had bigger plans. Elena and I had been designing a clothing line in secret, meeting in her family shop after hours, creating pieces that celebrated Miami's unique blend of Latin glamour and beach casualness. We called it Maria, Spanish for tide, because fashion like water finds its own level. Using my trust fund allowance, I quietly registered the business, built a website, started manufacturing small runs. My parents suspected nothing, too busy grooming James to take over the dynasty. The explosion came during Art Basel. My parents were hosting their annual client dinner at the house, Miami's elite dripping in Willis diamonds while discussing offshore accounts. I was wearing one of our Maria dresses, a fluid silk number that moved like water, when Mrs. Bernardini, wife of a Swiss watch magnate, grabbed my arm. "This dress is divine. Where did you buy it?" "I designed it," I said quietly. "Elena Volkov and I have a small line." The room went silent. My mother's champagne flute stopped halfway to her lips. My father's face darkened like a storm over the bay. "Mia designs clothes," Mrs. Bernardini announced delightedly. "How wonderful. Fashion and jewelry, a perfect combination." "Mia is confused," my father said coldly. "She works for Willis and Sons. We don't do fabric." "Actually," I said, my voice steadier than my hands, "I do both." Maria launches next month. What followed was uglier than a heated divorce. They demanded I shut down the business immediately. When I refused, they froze my trust fund, canceled my company credit cards, and banned me from Willis stores. "You're destroying 5 generations of reputation," my mother hissed. "Jewelry is our blood. You're diluting the brand with this hobby." "Then consider me a different vintage," I shot back, packing my belongings while security watched. "At least I'm creating something, instead of just polishing the past." James smirked from the doorway. "Don't worry, I'll manage your inheritance along with everything else." I moved into Elena's tiny apartment above the alteration shop, sleeping on a pull-out couch that smelled of fabric softener and rebellion. We launched Maria with $5,000 scraped together from savings and a maxed-out credit card. Our first collection was 6 pieces, photographed on Miami Beach at dawn with Elena's cousin as our model. No PR firm, no fancy showroom, just Instagram and determination. But Miami's fashion underground is small and talks fast. Influencers tired of New York and LA brands started wearing our pieces. A boutique in the design district took a chance on us. Within 3 months, we couldn't keep up with orders. "Your family's calling again," Elena said one afternoon, holding up my buzzing phone. "Let them call," I replied, cutting fabric for our resort collection. "I'm busy building what they tried to kill." The turning point came during Miami Swim Week. A major models designer pulled out last minute, and through a series of connections and luck, Maria was asked to fill the slot. We had 72 hours to create a show-stopping collection. Elena and I worked without sleep, our hands cramping, surviving on Cuban coffee and determination. The night before the show, as I was hand-sewing crystals onto a finale gown, I got an unexpected visitor. My grandmother, Eleanor Willis, the family matriarch who'd been silent during my exile. She stood in our chaotic workshop, diamonds glittering incongruously among fabric scraps. "Your father doesn't know I'm here," she said simply. "Show me what you're making."
I did.
Showed her the inspiration boards, the sketches, the business plan I'd written on napkins. She touched the fabrics with hands that had evaluated millions in gems, studied the construction with eyes that could spot a flaw in a flawless diamond. "You have your great-grandmother's spirit," she said finally. She wanted to design too. "Your great-grandfather forbade it. Said Willis women were meant to wear beauty, not create it." She pulled out a worn leather journal. These were her sketches. Fashion designs from the 1940s. I saved them, hoping someday. She pressed it into my hands. "Make them proud, both of them." The show was a revelation. Models floated down the runway in pieces that captured Miami's essence, fluid as water, structured as Art Deco, vibrant as wind-wooed walls. The finale gown, inspired by my great-grandmother's sketches and incorporating vintage Willis crystals I'd kept hidden, stopped the room. Orders flooded in from Saks, Nordstrom, Net-a-Porter. Vogue called it the birth of American resort luxury. By morning, Maria had $1 million valuation. My phone exploded with messages, including one from my father. "We need to talk." I ignored it, too busy planning our next collection with Elena. But the real vindication came 6 months later. Willis and Sons was struggling. The jewelry market had shifted, younger customers wanted experiences over heirlooms, and James's traditional approach was hemorrhaging money. They needed innovation, collaboration, something fresh. The board suggested partnering with a fashion house for a jewelry clothing collaboration. The irony was delicious when they discovered the hottest fashion brand in Miami was Maria. The meeting was scheduled for a Monday morning. I walked into Willis and Sons for the first time in a year, wearing a Maria power suit and my great-grandmother's sketch journal like armor. The boardroom was full. My parents, James, board members who'd known me since birth. "Maria is willing to discuss a limited collaboration," I began, projecting financial documents. "Our terms are non-negotiable. Equal branding, creative control remains with Maria, and 60% of profits go to us." "That's robbery," James sputtered. "That's business," I corrected. "Willis needs Maria more than we need you. Our customer base is we're desperate to reach." My mother tried emotional manipulation. "Mia, we're family. Surely we can come to better terms." "Family?" I laughed. "Family doesn't exile daughters for having dreams. Family doesn't threaten and abandon. You made this transaction based the day you chose the business over me. The collaboration happened on my terms." The Maria Willis collection sold out in 3 days, bringing younger customers into Willis stores for the first time in years. Fashion magazines featured our pieces, calling it the perfect marriage of heritage and innovation. My parents were forced to smile for cameras while I gave interviews about following your passion despite obstacles. "How did you have the courage to start Maria?" reporters asked. "My family taught me well," I'd answer smoothly. "They showed me that in business, you have to be willing to sacrifice everything. So I sacrificed them." Today, Maria occupies 3 floors of a design district building, our logo visible from the highway. We employ 150 people, show in Paris, and have expanded into accessories, though never jewelry. That market belongs to the past. Elena is my co-CEO and still my best friend, the only family that chose me rather than inherited me. My biological family, and I maintain a professional relationship. We collaborate when profitable, compete when necessary, and never pretend it's about love. Willis and Son survived because of our partnership, though they'll never admit it publicly. My grandmother Eleanor passed last year, leaving me her personal jewelry collection with a note. For the granddaughter who proved Willis women can create beauty, not just wear it. I wore her diamonds to the Met Gala, paired with a Maria gown that made fashion history. The photos showed 4 generations of Willis women. My great-grandmother's design vision, my grandmother's jewels, my mother's business acumen reluctantly passed down, and my own revolution. But I've kept the biggest secret for last. While building Maria publicly, I've been acquiring Willis and Son stock privately through shell companies. Elena's family, grateful for how Maria transformed their lives, helped with capital. Last month, I crossed 51% ownership. The hostile takeover meeting is next week. James doesn't know yet that his little sister, the one he smirked at while she packed, now owns the company he thought was his birthright. I am Mia Willis. They forced me to quit the family business because fashion wasn't Willis appropriate. Now I own both the fashion empire and the jewelry dynasty they tried to protect from me. My parents raised me to understand that business is war, that family is secondary to success, that Willis women should be ornamental rather than instrumental. They were right about the first 2. But they were catastrophically wrong about the last. Because Willis women can be whatever we decide to be. And I decided to be the one who writes the checks, signs the contracts, and determines who sits at the table. They wanted me to quit. I did. Then I came back as their boss. And that's the kind of plot twist even Miami's most dramatic telenovelas couldn't script. The irony is complete. Every piece of Willis jewelry now comes in a Maria design box. Every Willis advertisement features Maria clothing. Every board meeting includes the fashion designer they tried to silence. I've turned their legacy into my subsidiary, their dynasty into my division. And the best part? They have to thank me for saving them, publicly and repeatedly, at every shareholders' meeting where I now preside. Because that's what happens when you force someone to quit. Sometimes they start something better. And sometimes they come back to buy what you thought you'd protected. Fashion, like water, always finds its level. And power, like diamonds, belongs to whoever's strong enough to take it.